Howdy folks, thanks for tuning in. Hope y'all are doing okay today. So, I wanted to talk about something that has kind of been on my mind for a few days. And I think that, in all honesty, it is a huge part of the problem that we're seeing with a lot of problems in the U.S. I think whether it's violence or crime or murder or anything else, I think that when you boil a lot of these issues down to the root cause, and here's why this happened, I think a lot of it is that people have fallen out of religious or spiritual beliefs. Now, I want to say that for the atheists and agnostics in the room, you can personally believe that religion was developed as a way to manipulate man, or that it was just the fantasies and feel-good stuff of people that wanted to be validated, or believe that there was something more than just the Big Bang and evolution, and you got a right to believe that. But the reason why I say that I think that part of the problem is the lack of spiritual and religious practice in the United States, or the decline of it, not necessarily lack, but a decline in the past 50 years, is part of it, is when you practice a religion, and whether it's Islam, Hindu, Buddhism, Christianity, I'm not going to go down and name all of them, but you get the idea. There is a moral code that is instilled in you. And some of the earliest memories that I have as a kid, I remember at 2 and 3 years old going to church with my mother and sister. So, I remember that very clearly. And all the little Bible lessons that we got as kids growing up, not counting the deeper, more philosophical and theological things that we got into as adults, even teens. So I think that there's definitely something there that you can point to there as to why immorality on the whole has been on the rise. And that's my opinion. Now, I realize that there are probably some people thinking about, radical Islam extremists, or folks like those at Westboro Baptist Church, all that. Okay, fine, that's a fair counterpoint. I will point out that in most religious examples like that, they are a very small minority of thinking along those lines, and a far cry from anywhere near the majority. What in the world am I looking at here? Okay, I thought a motorcycle was about to come straight at me. They are decidedly not the majority in their line of thinking. So I think that if you paint all that hold religious or spiritual convictions with that brush, you're doing a disservice. And as a matter of fact, a good atheist friend of mine has said that even though he doesn't necessarily believe in God and what happens after death, and from the Christian perspective, he was raised Christian, and he acts more Christian than most people in the world, and even some Christians, and I think that's wonderful. He's like, there's definitely, even if I don't necessarily agree with the entirety of the teachings anymore, I definitely will admit that there's moral good in those teachings as far as how you're supposed to treat people, what you should and should not do, and what you can and can't do if you're going to abide by biblical precepts. So I think that that's part of the problem, and I think that a lot of the reason that people have been driven away from church is government stepping in for charity, for one. I think that's a part of it. I think another part of it is believers being painted as somewhat eccentric in a lot of media outlets, and that's just a couple reasons that I can name off the top of my head. And the whole reason why I bring this up is I realize that, okay, if everybody was, or if an increasing percentage of people were in church or some form of spiritual discipline at the appropriate time, suppose that 10% more people went to church in the nation year over year, continuing, that would not solve all the problems. I'll admit that. But most problems do not have one cause. Most problems have multiple causes, or most situations have multiple causes to get there, and each thing has a certain percentage of the blame, if you will. So as an example of this, coming up on about 3 years ago, my wife and I had a little bit of a rough time, and we ended up in marriage counseling over this, and we ended up having some very deep, painful discussions about all this. And there was some emotional hurt. There was a lot of things that weren't very great happening at the time. And her and I did a lot of sitting down. We did a lot of one-on-one with the therapist. We did a lot of both of us talking with the therapist, and kind of worked some things out and formulated a way that we would never end up back in this situation again. Now, looking back on the problem, like when you were looking back on it at the time, there were at least 3 contributing factors to the problem. Number 1 was communication. Number 2 probably would have been a lack of time for us. And that kind 2 and 3 kind of blend together on this. Lack of time for us, when you're busy raising kids, it's difficult to carve out time to spend time together. And then as part of the double-edged sword of that, kind of number 3 on this, I was on night shift at the time, and she had taken a couple different jobs working day shift. I'm now on day shift. We get to see each other every day. Life's a little better. So, I think that there's multiple causes to get to that problem. If you eliminate one of those issues, you reduce the chance of the problem occurring. So, do I think that if everybody started studying some sort of a spiritual morality or religious morality, do I think that would solve all of America's problems? No, I don't. But I think that it would it would decrease some of the problems that we're seeing to some extent. My opinion. Let me know what yours is in the comment section below. Give me a like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you want to know when I put new stuff up. If you want my opinion on something that I haven't talked about yet, put it down there. And even if I got to do to consult Google or whatever else I have to do to